from the All Indiana Podcast Network. It's Diversity Focus Today. Now, here's your host, Rickie Solid Gold Clark.
Well, welcome once again to another edition of Diversity Focus Today. I am your host, Rickie Clark, or some people call me Rickie Solid Gold Clark. Along with our team, we got the lovely and talented Dr. T, a.k.a. Tammy Harris. And our attorney buddy, Mike Murray, is on assignment today. He picked a good day because it's raining here in Indianapolis right now. So, we are ready to get started on this edition. And so, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome again to our show. Man, we got so many topics. And Dr. T is going to start us off talking about a whole bunch of things. So, Doc, I'm going to shift it now to you.
Well, I'm just thinking about what's to come. By the time this show airs, we'll be into our summer celebrations and a lot of events with the WNBA and basketball. So I was thinking, why don't we share what's going on in the city and also talk about some safety concerns that may have occurred over the 4th of July celebrations with the fireworks and stuff. And
the city now being the city of Indianapolis, since we're all over the world
yes,
with this. Okay.
Yes.
Indianapolis, Indiana, y'all.
Yes. So the Indiana Black Expo Summer Celebration begins July 10th and goes through the 20th. And so that is an event that's filled with exhibitions, health fairs, family events, things that kind of really save lives, I would say, with the health fair.
Oh, I have a testimony which I stated to the team before we came on the air. If it wasn't for the Expo Health Fair, years ago, many years ago, I was diagnosed as being a diabetic. Had no idea that I was a diabetic, and I guess my levels were so high that they wanted to send me to the hospital from the health fair.
Oh, wow.
And, I didn't know, and eventually my doctor the next day sent me to the hospital to work on that. But so that portion is extremely important, and as we were speaking earlier, they offer so many different tests and different things that you can go through. I think it's like $4,000 worth of medical examinations, testings, and services that they offer there. So if you're hearing me, my voice, or looking at my pretty face, then by all means, if you still got time to get down there this Sunday.
And I'll read on their website, it says the Indiana Health Fair, and the goal of the Indiana Health Fair is to increase awareness of chronic disease, such as diabetes, diabetes, heart disease, stroke, hypertension, and cancer, and how to prevent them. So this annual event is the largest of its kind, offering over $4,000 in free health care screenings and services. It has vital wellness resources and engaging in fitness activities for the community. And the time is usually this will be that day, 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. It is free for seniors, and its location is in the Indiana Convention Center in halls D and E.
And I might add, our host station that we do the podcast and the TV show is a major contributor for the health fair, and they've been that way. WISH TV, Channel 8 in Indianapolis, Indiana. So kudos to them because they've been a part of that health fair and program for many years.
And now I see the exhibit hours for that Sunday, July 20th, which would be this airing, is from noon to 6 p.m. So I just want to make that correction as well.
Yeah, I was wondering, you said 4 to 8. I said, well, is that the party?
I had scrolled down. Well, that's where most of during the week, which probably had already passed.
Yes, okay.
But noon to 6 p.m. today.
Okay, so we got that handled.
And then also, I believe during the weekend, that week, upcoming events is the got the WNBA All-Star
we can't forget that, yeah.
that probably has passed the day after, but it's to come as well.
That's the big national, the WNBA.
Catch Indiana Fever's Caitlin Clark leading lineup in the star-studded game. Festivities include 3-point contests, skills challenges, and debut Fever Fest concerts. So.
Okay. course, by the time
this ticket starts at 166, which, like I said, this might have passed.
Yeah, have passed, but still, kudos to the WNBA. So we need to lift them up and talk about that because, I mean, I happened to watch their draft that they had for the All-Star Game. That, of course, is now already passed, but I've never seen a selection process as what they did as I was watching it on one of the, I think it's ESPN. So that was interesting. I was like, okay, you know, you pick, I pick, you pick, you pick, I pick. Okay, so that was pretty. That was pretty solid to check out.
Who was the two? Like, how did it run? Was it two of the same Fever's team picking their team from?
It was the team captains that picked, and they had
from their own teammates.
No, yeah, from a list of the All-Stars that were on the list.
From other teams.
That the fans picked.
Okay.
The fans pick the actual All-Stars, and then the team captains go and they pick who they want from this list of All-Stars that the fans have already picked. And so
Caitlin is a captain this
year. She's a captain of one of the teams, and I, man, for the life of me, I can't think of the other lady who is the captain of the other team. So, of course, by the time this aired, we would have known which side, the East or the West. So,
so they have women versus. Is she's well now, Caitlin?
Yes, she's back playing now. So that's a good thing for the Fever.
Right.
So, but it's also a good thing for the WNBA. I mean, the mere fact that this popularity, which they haven't had before, is amazing. I mean, you've gone from, listen, and I'm just using the Indiana Fever because before all this popularity occurred, it's my understanding, several years ago, they were playing at the Fairground Coliseum.
Oh, wow.
Which is a smaller venue. And now they're in a Gamebridge, which is 20,000 seat stadium.
Right. And you're actually watching the draft.
And you're watching the draft. And you know, they're putting butts in the seat.
Right.
You know, sellouts from time to time. So it's amazing. And I'm happy to see that the ladies are getting their just due.
Right.
So,
Tamika Catchings, didn't she just have a statue or a mural put up downtown?
I think she did.
Yeah.
I think she did.
I know she does a lot for the community as well.
Yeah, she was the Fever's first big-time All-Star.
Right.
And so, yeah, she's done a lot for the team and
in the community.
In the community. So that's good. And I'm sure the rest of the players will do and be doing that same thing. So,
because I think one of her shops has a basketball. It's the one, but near one of the parks. She got two tea shops.
Her tea shop.
It offers art and culture for teens and families. And I think that's very good to kind of address the issues with youth violence that's been going on. What's out there for the kids to do?
Okay. Well,
you know.
So do we jump off into that, or are we still on the WNBA? You tell me.
The WNBA, unfortunately, I think this will be the past, but I think we definitely brung highlight and significance to
But the Fevers are still playing. It's
the season.
All-Star Game is over with by the time this is aired, but the season is still going. So if you haven't been to a WNBA game, you need to go. It's exciting, fantastic.
Have to do, honestly.
Yeah, Doc, what's up with that?
I have to do. Well, I rarely even go to. I'm just out of sports okay, let me give a backlog to that. You know this, and I'm sorry to say I don't want to bring up old PTSD issues, but when the Colts was in the Super Bowl, I followed the season. I was there. I know it has nothing to do with football, but also the
sports
but,
in general.
It's just so much of an emotional roller coaster for me. It's just you get to that highs and lows, and you get to the end and they lose. It just takes too much. So I've learned to watch basketball by the last quarter in the last 10 minutes or so. That's as much sports
as much as you can handle,
at least for basketball.
Okay, well, I'm sure
so
you're not
to pay a
yourself.
ticket for 10 minutes of a fourth quarter.
We're all shaking our head. I'm shaking my head, and our director, producer Alan, shaking his head.
Case in point. When the Pacers got that second game, that first game, when did it happen? That last 3 minutes or seconds.
Oh yeah, when
see
when Halliburton.
Yeah, see
hit that shot.
Right. Yeah. Case in point. I can't.
Were you watching then?
No, I'm glad I didn't because
That's part of the excitement.
But it happened in the last part of the game. And
but you just said that you were last. You like the last
but
part
I watched
of the
it on
game.
TV. Right. Well, I wasn't there in person, but I kind of got the gist of it at home. But just that imagine the emotional roller coaster you were on during that, and then they win, and that's good. So I went straight to the victory.
Okay. All right.
But I will have to support. I would definitely have to support the WNBA.
Yeah.
And my daughter actually volunteered a lot with and worked for both Pacers and the Whites and Illinois. What is it? The
Bulls?
Did work for the Bulls, but the women's
Bears?
league.
Oh,
that Angela Rice.
What is the team? Help us.
White flag.
And I know that the Chicago team, the
women's team.
Yeah, it'll come to me.
I think it's the Whites.
No, it's not white. You talking about the White Sox baseball team?
Case in point, no discrimination. I don't know any team from my hometown other than the Bulls. I live in Pace.
Okay.
Sky.
The Skies, Chicago Skies.
I was thinking the White Sky.
Okay.
See, case in point. If Mike was here, I would have been rescued by now. Yeah, you should continue the conversation with sports.
Yeah, we know not to stay on sports too long with Doc.
I tried to bail myself out, and you was like, "Well, let's stay with sports."
And you just got deeper. Well, we'll leave that quicksand before you go completely under. So we won't do that again. What else we have on the agenda?
I'm so embarrassed. But I already knew. You knew. You set me up right there.
Well,
let's talk about ballet.
Ballet. I don't know anything about ballet.
Exactly, but we're going to talk about it anyway.
I just know sometimes they got nice uniforms. I don't know why they have that, and tippy-toe.
Yeah,
tippy-toe. So I don't know anything about ballet. Yeah. What else we got on the agenda? Folks are like,
I guess youth.
we need to go to the youth violence.
Yeah, just talk about safety and where they are, because we had a nice event 4th of July. I was actually in Illinois during that time with my dad and friends and celebrating birthdays, doing my first boots on the ground, kind of learning to line dance. So
we got to talk about that too.
No, we don't.
But let's set that up.
We good. No.
Part of the celebration here in Indianapolis, Indiana, in downtown Indy, they always have, like in so many other cities, a 4th of July celebration, complete with fireworks and festivities and food trucks and that sort of thing. It's a big-time family-oriented event, which people start going downtown as early as 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Even though the fireworks don't begin until it gets dark, about, 9:30, quarter to 10. But way after the fireworks, a good 3 hours after families and folks had gone home, most people, about 1:30 a.m. on that the next day, they had a bunch of youth downtown, and unfortunately there were, I think it was 7 people shot in the downtown area in Indianapolis. I know the convention center folks are like, oh, don't talk about that. And then 2 died. These were juveniles.
Yes.
I think one was 16 and was one 13.
I don't know how the other one.
Okay.
But the one that they have been highlighting, they were saying it was a family. Like this was the
third child that had been shot over a number of years.
Yeah.
So I could imagine. I don't know. I really can't imagine what the family is going through. Perhaps because you've treated stress and trauma in your practice that you have.
Yes, and it is unfortunate that families have to experience that.
Yeah.
And to have to lose so many and that what we would call like complex grief, like more than one loss, significant loss back to back, and that would cause a lot of distress and grieving process to work through. So I can only imagine this loss providing significant grief for the family again and re-triggering of past losses. So
okay.
Unfortunate.
So they're looking here in Indy, and I'm sure other cities that have had this particular issue, especially during the summer. And I've said, because of my previous experience as a retired police officer, when it gets 85, 90, 100 degree temperatures get short, and things begin to happen. And of course, this administration here in the state, as well as the federal, there are so many guns out there, and that, I mean, you can go to any certain area in any given city and buy a gun, sometimes cheaper and easier than buying a pack of cigarettes or buying a candy bar. I mean, that's just how easy and simple it is to get a gun. And so because there are so many guns and so many youth out there that have access to guns, you know, it's a major problem, not only in Indianapolis, Indiana, but in other parts of the country. So, Doc, what do we do? How do we fix this? How do we fix this?
Prayer is always good.
Prayer is good.
God knows. God touches people's hearts even when we don't see it. You know, it comes faith. You know, you got to have faith in self, and then it extends to the community. Starting with self is just knowing your purpose, knowing your values, knowing your own self-worth, I believe, and trying to spread that. And it's hard, but I do actually have workshops and teach self-actualization skills to people and teach them how to self-actualize, which means helping them to be their full fulfillment, their full self, and finding that purpose. So it's like a 5-week course that I do work adults 18 and older. For juveniles, they depend on our adults. So it really won't be necessary for them to know their space if they're dependent on someone to carry them. And I think it goes back to that tie into families. What do the family structure look like? What are the ground rules or the supports that they have or not having? The most significant work that I have done, I've worked in shelters, I've worked at the hospitals inpatient for 9 years, did supervisory clinical work for home-based counseling, working with both DCS and probation officers. So I've been in homes that had actually had charges of youth violence or neglect or abuse or drugs. And I say going into the homes, which most counselors and people starting a career figure is like, oh, bottom work. But that's actually where I felt I made the most significant difference, is going in their home, seeing their environment, and working through the trauma or the issues as they occur. Whereas working at the hospital setting or in my office or at the schools, they work there, you control the environment, you have their undivided attention, then they go back out. And then it's like a revolving door, they come back.
Come back in.
Come back in. So it takes a certain amount of skill and personality and rapport to have with that family for certain therapists and case managers and workers to be in that environment where they are coming from. But since, you know, I'm not disclosing any information or anybody, but just in general, going into the homes provided me insight of what they're really truly dealing with. And I didn't have all the answers. All I could do, and it goes back to that empowerment and that faith base. When I was able to work through, and I take on a humanistic approach, person-centered approach of psychology. So that's my expertise. I go into the home, I get to know that person. I also use family-centered therapy. So it's a whole nother program that walks family through different portions of therapy and working together. So building that rapport, understanding their values, not being judgmental, and then seeing where the connection is, you know, seeing where the breakdown. Typically, the breakdown in families is that of communication. You know, oftentimes people have the screens, or they don't eat dinner together. Eating dinner together in families are very basic and valuable because it brings a sense of ideals, acceptance, and acknowledgement that you're there. Even if it's a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on a TV stand, eating and food brings people together and families closer. So I often encourage that in families. I would do the basics of just bringing that to the family. You might, wow, that's, yes. Think about the last time you actually had dinner with your family and what that looked like. I'm not talking about no big, you know, family reunion where everybody's drunk and having barbecue. No, it's just, again, that food is a nurturer in itself. So bringing, you know, families together through food and conversation. Game nights, you know, kind of learning how they work through problem solving and competition in a healthy way. Whether it's tic-tac-toe, spades, you know. So going into homes and doing basic family skills and connectedness and to enhance trust and communication, I think is where it starts.
So a simple card game could be because it does bring family and friends
it's
together.
the simple card game, but it's the
Card game,
content
yeah.
within that. Like
Right,
the
okay.
skill set. Like people say, I don't want to go to school. They don't teach me nothing. Well, it ain't so much about going to school and learning something. You're learning how to maneuver through different personalities, social interactions, and acceptance. You know,
Right.
attaining to rules and policies, and being on time with homework. That's is beyond just the sense of what you're doing. That's giving you those kind of skills sets for socializing and being a better you.
Okay.
And then when I bring that to families, they'll be like, wow. You know, and it'd be as simple. You know, does it necessarily always keep most of them out of the system or off drugs? Probably not. I had a few that, you know, actually went back into the system. But I always say don't get discouraged because we're planting seeds. Public
Okay.
servants like yourself, you know, police officers, mental health counselors, you know, case management, we're planting seeds. So I always say don't get encouraged. And mentors. You know, don't get encouraged when you're working with families that seem to be resistant because they feed off of you. If somebody feels like you're not helping them or you're just in it for the money, and I've gotten that a lot too. You just want the money. I said, can I, well, you see my paycheck lately? It's not
It ain't
about the money because
yeah.
I did a lot of nonprofit work earlier in my career and stuff and all. And so it's, to answer your question, what's the problem? It starts with family.
Yeah.
And if it's not necessarily family, family is still what you make it. It could be that of friends,
Yeah.
significant others, coaches, schools, police officers, whoever you can connect that can hold you accountable when you feel like you can't hold yourself accountable.
Okay.
Hence, with gangs and when kids go outside the home, they probably looking for something that they didn't have, which is basically trust, support, respect, you know, and they say, oh, you didn't give me no respect. So they find it in other things, you know. And it's just a matter if you're in a group, what they say, chickens in a feather flock together, or crabs in a barrel.
Yeah.
If you surround yourself by what's not the norm, it's going to feel normal because that's all you are engaged in. So it's learning to go outside your bubble. And that's the hardest thing for most people, too, is change. How do I transition from one thing to another? And that's what I call being comfortable in chaos.
That's you know, you're bringing up great subjects, and it brought me to remember a particular situation. You know, having two careers, one in law enforcement and the other in the media, radio and
Yes.
TV.
You went to the communities, right?
Yeah, well, to the communities, but during one of my shows, because we would rotate on different shows, I can recall working an overnight shift, and you have a tendency of getting the same people that call, and they want to just talk. They want to talk.
Communication.
Yeah. And one particular night, there was this young lady, and she had called probably a good 2 or 3 months, pretty much about the same time, and just talking about different things. Well, this one particular night, she called, and she was extremely upset, and I asked her what was going on, and she said, well, I had some issues with my boyfriend and this and that, and I seem to not be able to connect very well, and I'm just tired, and I'm just depressed, and I want to end it all. And I'm thinking, okay, no, you don't want to do that. Anyway, I spent the last, like 4 hours talking to her, and I honestly believe by the time we finished our and I'm doing a radio show, so I got records going, and I'm talking on the air, and, you know, I'm doing my thing, but then, you know, I've got this lady that is extremely, I mean, even her voice began to change as she's talking about her issues. You know, the voice changed, and so on, and she's talking about, I have this gun, and I know where it is, it's in my drawer, and I'm just thinking about it, and I'm thinking, okay, I can't let her go get any gun or anything else. So I told our program director about that, and at that time we were taping some of the shows, so I went ahead and taped this, and we played it back for the staff, and lo and behold, and really my other engineer, we had the news person that was there, he was listening to some of this. He went ahead and called the police so they could try to trace the call in the event she did go to whatever drawer she was talking about to get this gun. But I was able to talk her down, and she was able to get help because the police did, in fact, you know, toward the end, come and you know, send her to the hospital, and she's doing well. She sent us a very long, nice, lovely letter.
You were there.
Yeah, saying thank you so much. I don't know what got into me. I was just despondent. I was just depressed, and you talked me through. If it wasn't for you talking me through what was going on in my life, I might have ended it.
Wow.
You know.
And that would be actually a good point to say Indianapolis and call centers has 411, which is provides for suicide ideation or support, or just someone to vent to, just as she done. And then 211 Indianapolis provides resources.
Right.
So there are agencies and support out there just in a phone call that you can make. 211 for support, 411 for mental health support.
Okay.
But that's wow. You see, just the job in yourself. People want to be heard and recognized, and a lot of these teens just want that too.
Right.
And you can discipline all you want. You can, but they lead by example. You know, they're watching us adults, and unfortunately it does come from top bottom. How the government is run, where the values are coming from. We talked about that in one of our previous shows. You know, so just being able to listen and provide basic, home connectedness and communication skills and affection and all that to the families.
Well, it's nice though, and that we've got, doctors, PhDs, and folks such as yourself that can do that. And then, if you get in a situation like I did, I had no clue. I mean, once I got into it, it's like, okay, we need to go ahead and I need to kind of calm this situation. Not knowing if
and that's
she
your
was.
skills from being an officer.
Well, yeah, being an officer and being a people person.
True that.
So, I didn't want anything to happen to her. And like I said, she had called a number of times throughout 3 or 4 or 5 months. So I considered her one of the regulars that would call. But this time, the tone in her voice was different. The conversation was totally different. It started out as the same, but as we continued talking, and I asked, well, what's wrong? And then she finally opened up and shared what was going on in her life and what she felt like her only way out was to end her life.
Oh,
I think
wow.
we can't do that.
No.
Ain't this kind of party right now.
And sometimes when people feel that way, they would act even in depression. A lot, I think, our youth are depressed and not getting properly mental health care.
Exactly.
So when you're depressed, most teens acted out in anger or risk-taking behaviors, such as shootings or gang memberships and things like that. So it could be an alternative way or sign of depression.
Yeah.
So we need to just ask the question. One way to save their lives is to ask, are you suicidal? And my students will say, why would you bring it up? Why would you put it in their head? No, because if you sense it, that will be a quick way to say, I hear you, without all the masking in front of it. Are you feeling like you want to harm yourself in any way? So if they having unusual behavior that's either the opposite, very happy or even just very depressed, it don't always come in tears. Depression don't always come in tears. Ask that question.
Right.
Are you feeling like you want to harm yourself or others in any kind of way?
Okay.
And that starts the conversation.
Okay. Well, we'll have to continue maybe in one of our next programs, Doc, because it's about time for us to go. So hopefully during this time we were able to help somebody. And
right.
So,
and
but
be
we'll
safe.
continue and be safe. So
be safe out
we've
there.
got to run. Thank you so much.
Questions and comments.
Yeah, send your questions and comments. Hey, and the everything is up on the line, the social media, the YouTube and Facebook and the whole 9 yards. So we'll check you out next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.